Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to this training. Today we are going to look at formulas and functions in Excel. And to start with, we have a table there with sample data, which you're going to use to show how we can do some calculations in Excel using formulas and functions. Now, first, formulas are equations which are designed by the user, whereas functions are inbuilt formulas. And of course, you can combine an equation in the formula, the function in an equation, and you can also decide to use a function and pass the parameters as per the requirements of that function. So that now distinguishes between a formula and a function. That when it comes to formulas, the user designs and equations he would like to use, whereas a function is an inbuilt formula, and you just pass the parameters as per the design or pass the parameters, the arguments as per the formula requires. So first, we have some data here on some student data, and we'd like to perform some simple calculations. For example, we'd like to get the total in this column. Note that you can write the formula in the cell or by clicking the cell or clicking the formula bar. This is called the formula bar, and this is the insert function. So first, we want to get the total, and the total is equals to, use the is equal sign. That tells that formula, that tells Excel that we are expecting a formula or a function. So we start with formulas. So user is equals to this, the value in that cell plus the value in that other cell. And once you've done that, you can always autofill by just clicking on that cell button there in the cell, and Excel automatically calculates. When the values change in the cell, for example, it automatically change in the output there, because we have used this reference here. So if you look at the formula here, at the beginning is F2 plus G2, whereas the last cell here is F27, sorry, this is F11, that plus G11. So that's an example of a formula. Now, the other things that maybe, for example, you may want to multiply values. Let's say, for example, I want to add the values of this cell. Let's say I want to get the sum here, the total. So I can say is equals to that cell plus that cell but that is tedious, especially if you have very big values. Yes, if you have very big values, use the total. Alternatively, you can use a function. A function like sum is equals to sum, and then you pass the parameters by selecting the range like that, and you close the parentheses. So I think in our addition we missed one or two values here, but that's how we did. So let's do the function. So this is a function, and whereas this is a formula, F2 plus G2. We can extend this formula like that, and we're able to see that we are able to get the total. For example, so this is the total. We want to get the minimum. So the minimum, so the minimum performance, I just say, so use the function min, and then as an input, then you cross the system will get the minimum. You want to get the maximum, do the same, equals to max plus another function. Then you can extend to the next column. When you drag, then it changes now because the reference is relative reference. You note this. You note that when you drag or you copy this formula either across or down the cells, the formula keeps on changing, and this is what we call relative reference. A reference that does not change then is an absolute reference, which we looked at in the first lesson. The other thing that we want to get here is the average of the class for this subject. So it is a function. What you can do, because you click on fx here, this function. So if you search here and you want to get the average, the word average, it gives you all the functions associated to that. For example, we want to get the average, and once you click on that, the system gives you a hint. It tells you this function average returns the arithmetic mean of its argument, which can be numbers, names, arrays, or reference, and so on. So what does that mean? I can either pass the range as a reference, or I can pass the numbers. So I'll come here and start with an equal sign. All formulas and functions must start with an equal sign. Type the word average to guide me. Then I will get and that is the arithmetic mean, as we said, as we have said from the definition of what that formula returns. That's the average, and we want to get the standard deviation. In statistics, we have the standard deviation, so it's important. So you come here and type what you want to standard. It's called the standard deviation. So you just type there, you get that. So this is a function, and you can see the explanation there. It just means the deviation based on a simple, based on a sample, for example. So if I want to get the standard deviation of this column, then I'll just type is equals to standard deviation. Then I'll select the range. Remember, you said in the beginning that the range is a group of cells. Then I can get the variance. The variance of this is important, and the variance is normally, remember, is a square of the standard deviation in statistics. So you start with the equal sign, and we have the standard deviation. So sorry, the variance, we want to get the variance. That's the variance of that distribution there, and you can do that. So this gives you the values. You can decide to round off the values. To 2 decimal places, so I don't have so very many. So you come to number and values to 2 decimal places, and you click OK. So you have your values there. Now, there are other functions as you can in Excel. There's so many, from financial, statistical, all kind of functions that you can use, text, and so on. But then, and we want to how to get to use a function which can give me the grade here. Grade and some remarks. Based on these criteria that have been set here. So anyone who scores above 80 scores an A, that is exceeds expectation. 65 to 79, that is B, meets expectation. 50 to 65, C, approaching, and that below expectation. So how do you go about it? So in Excel, we have the if function, and the if function, if you have to go to insert function, then you type if, you get to see what the if function does. And the if function checks whether a condition is met and returns a value if true. And if the value is not true, then it will return false. So it has this part, the if, the logical test. If this is tested, the logical test returns true, it will display value if true. And if it is false, it will return value false. And you can see that explanation has been done here in Excel. And of course, if you go to help more on this function, you can get an example of how that is implemented. So how do you go about it? Remember, in our example here, we have more than one condition. So it means then we'll have a nested if, that is a function within another function. In Excel, you can include a function within another function. That's what we call nesting. And is around in Excel up to maybe 7 or so levels. So let's first of all start with this. We say is equals to if we open the parentheses and we say if the value in this H2 is greater than or equal to, because anything that is above 80 is 100. Sorry, comma. So remember in our previous lesson when we looked at operators, when you use greater than or equal to, and if we need to greater than or equal to, if the value is, for example, 85 is greater than, so it returns true. So what value do you want to display here? According to our condition here, that is A. Like that. Then we put a comma. So we need to test this value again. If it is false, then we need to test whether it's between 65 and 79. So we'll say again, here we use the if function. We open the parentheses again, we test the logical test. We'll say if H2 is greater than or equal to 65, then that is B. If it is false, then we need to test whether it's between 50 and 65. So if, again, another logical test, we say H2 is greater than or equal to 50. Then we put that is C. So if it is if it is not greater than 80 and is not between 65 and 70, and then if it's not 50 and 65, then it must be below 49, and that is a D. So then you cross the first if, that parenthesis, we cross the second if, the third if, the press enter. So this formula here, I want to copy it and maybe put it here. So this formula, sorry, something has happened like that. So this formula is able to solve for us this problem. And if you autofill, then the system will automatically grade. So we can use the same formula and edit, because if we want to the system to comment for us, sorry. So here we are comparing the column H, and we are saying anything, if H2 is greater than 80, then we should be able to indicate that exceed expectation. So we'll come here to this formula instead of writing. Remember, if the value you're putting there, if it's not a formula, then must be enclosed with those parentheses. Then instead of B, remember the column is H2. Instead of B, then we say meet expectation. If H2, then we say approaching expectation. And finally, instead of D, then we indicate below expectation. If you're to fill that, then the system will be able to make for you that comment. So as you can see, we have used formulas. Here we have used a formula, and here we have used a function, and here we have used a function. You may want, for example, to let me just insert a column here, and we want to combine these two columns, this one and this one. So now, so that I have the grade and the marks and the grade in one cell. So I would use the equal sign, click that, use the ampersand, click on the other cell. So, and you can see, but remember this, if you want to put a space between them or any other character between them, you can just click there, edit the formula, put the space in between the ampersand, and then the autofill. Maybe we can name this column details, just like that. So as you can see, formulas and functions make it very easy for us to do calculations, computation in Excel or any other. Maybe we can get another example. Let's say we have customers here. We have some products here. Product, we have the quantity, we have the price of the product, and we have the total. And we want to calculate the tax paid. So let's say we have 1, 2, now we can have John here. Then the product is click here. So assume that we have those 3 products, and John buys 45. Three and 5. The price is 50. The price of bread is 60. And the cake is 100. So the total is the product of the two. So we can use the function product and put a comma, and remember we said when you autofill, that's a function. Alternatively, we could have gotten the same value by saying is equals to sign this multiplied by that, and still give us the same. So how then do we calculate tax? Let's say, for example, tax VAT is let's say VAT here is 16%. So you would say you would get that is equals to the product here multiplied by 0.16. That is one. Then you can copy the formula. Remember, when you drag the formula, the reference could change as you drag from F2, from F23. By the time you are in this cell, F25. But alternatively, you can use what we call an absolute reference and say is equals to product here, comma, then you put $sign, you lock the cell, K, the column, K, then again, and this is K23. That even as you so you multiply, but then this is supposed to be 0.16 because it is 16%. So that is the value. It gives you the same. So that's how you use formulas and functions in Excel. Remember, there are different categories of formulas and functions, and you can get them from here. For example, you may want to know, you want to count the number of entries in this column. So how many students did these mathematics tests? So is equals to count as you can see, then you drag. So it gives you all the analysis that is required. You may want to count, for example, the number of students who scored A's in this. So what you do, you indicate count. So for example, let's say we want to do an analysis of the grades A, this is called B, this is called C, and this is called B. So you use the formula count if you give the age like that, comma, and then the criteria. And the criteria, if you can click here, you click that, the criteria you want to, those ones that scored A, and because, sorry, yeah. So as you can see, those who scored A's are 1, 2. You can copy the formula across here and edit those. Now remember, the range, if you copy the formula, the range has changed to J. So if you want to maintain, then you can use the absolute. Alternatively, you can use the absolute reference here by putting put it here so that we copy the $sign. We lock the cell by putting the $sign before the column and before the row number, then we change. So if we are to copy that formula, then here I would come and change that to it B. It tells us how many scored B, how many scored C's, and how many scored D. So that kind of analysis the system should be able to do well based on the values that you have been given. Now there are other functions that are important to you or could be important to you. Maybe you want functions on mathematics, so statistics. So you'll get to statistics here. You'll get to mathematics on maybe future value, like on my financials. So you find them here. So you can see that we have all, but we have now this one's count if. You can scroll, there are so many on date, on reference, on for example normal distribution, all those things that you do find them in statistics. If you want to calculate skewness, skew, you want to transpose, thread, all kind of functions. And remember, as we said, that a function is an in-built formula, and what you need to do, what you need to know that a function has started with an equal sign, then the name of the function into brackets, then we have the arguments. For example, if for example I go to future value, let's say I want to, or let's say sum, Let me use a simple one like the one you have used here. If I click on this sum here, it starts an equal sign, the name of the function, and the arguments, which are the range that we have passed. So with those few remarks, I will encourage you to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification. Thank you.